Robert Plank Show, episode 348. Self install the correct mindset to make money. Traffic, lead capture, and offers with Lance Tamashiro. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. We have a third time return guest. I think the first and only so far third time return guest on the show, Mr. Lance Tamashiro. His website is lancetamashiro.com, and his other website is incomemachine.com. How are things today, Mr. Lance?
Man, super awesome, and it's a real honor. I mean, how many shows do you have now? Somewhere over 300, and I'm the first third return guest. Maybe I can be the fourth.
Yeah,
Fourth.
I mean, maybe, right? It's like how the celebrities guest star on SNL and stuff. So this is episode number 348 to answer your question. And then for people listening in, if they want to check out earlier episodes of yours, they can go to robertplank.com/342, where you talked about productivity, and then robertplank.com/100, where you talked about kind of tracking or cracking the traffic code and how you rank in iTunes and Amazon and that sort of fun stuff to answer your question there.
All right. Well, cool. So, I mean, Robert, I think one of the things, and obviously you can take me in whatever direction you want to go, that I kind of wanted to talk about today was sort of, what people are missing in their online businesses. And I know, like, we have a lot of people that follow our business that are either new entrepreneurs trying to figure out this internet thing, or they are entrepreneurs or small business owners trying to get their offline stuff online.
Right, and I think that I was thinking about this last couple of days because what we do in our business is every week we kind of choose one of our products to promote, and right now the product we're promoting is incomemachine.com, which shows people how to get kind of a niche figured out, an opt-in page, autoresponder sequence, blog, product, traffic, all that sort of fun stuff. And I mean, you're so right. There's like these missing pieces, and sort of what's been on my mind maybe this morning and a little bit last night is just this whole idea that I think back to when I first got started and everything was possible, right? Everything was a bright, shiny object. And I think that when we look at our business now, there's probably, maybe 10 or so things that are important, and there's hundreds and hundreds of things that aren't important. And I think that, thinking back early on, I think that, I did a lot of things, but I didn't really know what was going to make money or not. And it really felt like I was kind of going down all these paths or creating all these projects or putting in all this work or this time, and maybe only 10%, probably if I'm being realistic, maybe only 5% actually paid off. But at the time when I was starting, I didn't know what I didn't know. So can you kind of relate to that as well?
Yeah, I mean, this was, and I think that this story is sort of, how everybody goes through figuring out internet type businesses. And I mean, for me, it was similar to yours, although I was working in corporate America and I was bored out of my mind. I didn't want to be doing that the rest of my life. And so I started searching around on the internet, right? And I would do searches like make money online, and I would see like surveys or click on this ad or build a like all of these things under the sun. And I would read all of the sales letters and I'd go like, ooh, that's the one I'm going to do. And I'd get excited about it and do it for a while. And then I'd get bored because I wasn't seeing results. And so I'd find the next thing and I'd get all excited. And I mean, that was my pattern. And I think that there are two things that I really learned as far as getting started that I wish I had known when I was first figuring out this world of online business. And the first thing is that if you're going to make money online, and I don't care if it's replacing a full-time income, I don't care if it's to earn an extra $1,000 a month, I don't even care if it's to earn an extra $100 a month. The very first thing that you have to change as far as your online business goes is your mindset. And what I mean is most of us, when we become entrepreneurs, have other jobs, right? Or we've worked for other people, and that's what we're trying to get away from. But we have this mindset that the amount of time that I spend doing something is equivalent to getting paid, right? So when I worked in corporate America, it was like, well, I got paid because I showed up for 8 hours a day. It didn't matter if I showed up late, if I took a long lunch, if I was, walking around getting coffee or talking to my friends. I got paid for being there basically 8 hours a day. And so I was sort of trained to waste time. So I basically got trained to look busy and get paid for my time that I was being there. And it didn't matter if it was a fraction of the time that it took me to get my work done. I just had to be there. And when I first started building and trying to make money online, I brought that mindset with me that, if it took me a bunch of time, then I was going to get rewarded. And the truth is that when you're working for yourself or trying to build another revenue stream, you don't get paid for the amount of time that you put in. And that's a really hard thing to overcome. So when I got started, I would spend time that now I look at as just time wasters, where I would like try to perfect my web page, where I would try to perfect all of these different things. But at the end of the day, I had nobody looking at it. So the very first thing that I want everybody to sort of get rid of is that it doesn't matter how much time, right? Like you actually get paid more money online if it takes you 1 hour to get to get a website up than it does if you spend months getting it up. You get paid more if it takes you 1 hour to make your product than you do if it takes you a year to make your product. So time does not equal money online. The only thing that equals money online is less time equals money. So you got to get that out of the way first. And then the second thing that I kind of alluded to when I got started about looking at this thing and following this thing and grabbing this thing, and I still kind of fall into this trap with email, right? Because I'm on all my competitors' lists. So when I see something cool, I'm like, ooh, let's check out that. Ooh, let's check out that. Is this whole idea of the bright, shiny object, right? Or always being distracted by something else. And I think the key to getting rid of that bright, shiny object syndrome, which we don't really have anymore, Robert, is because we have our base system in place so that everything that comes into our inbox or every new traffic source that somebody talks about or every new conversion source that everybody's talking about, we look at and we go, does it fit into our business model? If it does, then we can immediately move on it because we've got the base part in place. Or if it doesn't, we throw it out and move to the next thing. And so I'm sure we'll go into more detail on that. But two things you got to get rid of right off the bat is more time equals more money. Not true. And bright, shiny objects don't exist if you have your big overview of what your online business really is.
Awesome. Two great lessons there. So, number one, mindset, time doesn't equal money. So, you kind of have to unlearn or retrain yourself, or however you want to call it, of like, the way you were rewarded before was for a job taking you extra long because you got paid by the hour or by the month or by the year. And then now that we're kind of in our own driver's seat, we make more money if we can get to the money faster. And then don't always be distracted by all those bright shiny objects. Your competitors are always doing those sort of different things. And so, one thing that I'm always really curious, when we talk about people and we talk about sort of how they come up and stuff like that, it's always very interesting to me to think about that sort of early mindset and sort of the things that we were able to break through. Because as you were explaining that, Mr. Lance, I was thinking about, like I think we've all fallen into those traps of thinking that because we spent 30 hours on an opt-in page, because we put in the time, that somehow satisfies our ego that, oh, well, it's because I spent 30 hours on it, I must make money. But it's really like you just wasted a lot of time. And I think back to like, like if I had only had those two little pieces of information, right? To get things done faster and get them done maybe in a little bit of a sloppy way, but not too sloppy, but just whatever it gets it done, that would have saved me just years and years of like those sort of flat years. And something as simple as just building a list, I waited like at least 5 years to build a list, and if I had started doing that on day one, then I could have once again like probably shortcut maybe 2 or 3 years of the not making money or of the kind of just like coming up part. And when you see a lot of these guys kind of just kill it right out of the gate, who've only been around for like a year or two, I think it's because they kind of started somehow knowing to have all these things, right? To have that right mindset in place, to have that email in place. And so one thing that kind of makes me think about is there are always things from back in the day that kind of worked or maybe have been updated. And I know that there was a period of time when you were really killing it, when you were doing like JV giveaways, and you were like buying solo ads, and you were making like little products and things like that. So can you kind of tell us about like some of the early stuff that you made, and most importantly, kind of like what got you to that point? What got you to the point where you weren't just filling the time, and what got you to the point where you were actually making things that were making you money?
Yeah, I think the first thing was um, getting rid of what I like to call the comparison trap. And so what I mean by that is when I was getting started, I would look at, I was trying to model other people, right? Like everybody said, find something and model it. And so what I would do is go, okay, I need to build a web page that I can capture emails with, right? A lead capture page. So basically somebody goes to a web page, they fill out a form, and then they get some kind of free gift to it. And that would take me forever to do. And here's why. Because I would get mine set up and I would think, oh man, it looks so ugly. And so I'd start looking at all of my other competitors, peers, what other people that I followed in marketing. And I would fall into this trap of going like, ooh, their headline's better. Oh, they got graphics and I don't have graphics. That must be why they make $1 million. Or, ooh, they have this cool pop-up thing on here. I don't have that. And so I got caught in this always comparing myself to other people on something as simple as trying to capture an email address. And I think that the very first time where it clicked for me, where it was like, it doesn't matter what they have, it matters on what you have and if it converts, was when you sort of taught me about A/B split testing. And so the first thing is that once I stopped going, ooh, theirs is better, it must be better because, and we make all these assumptions up in our head, right? Oh, it's Robert Plank and his page looks like this, so it must convert better than mine. Well, I hadn't even sent traffic to mine yet. So I'm playing this comparison game, and then I go, ooh, that's Jason Parker. So his page must convert better to mine. And then pretty soon it doesn't look like either of yours. It looks like this mishmash. And instead of what you taught me was, well, how about send traffic to it first and then see if it converts and then make one small change and see if that converts better. So getting out of the comparison test was huge. And once I got out of that comparison test and was like, okay, do this first, well, I started building a list. And I built lists early on that was things that people everywhere was like, you're building these junk lists. You're building these like lists that are just freebie seekers and tire kickers. And I know there was one guy that was like this super guru at the time that I had basically like gotten into a fight with because I was trying to be an affiliate for him. And I was like, why don't you let me send this kind of traffic? I can make it convert. And he was like, oh, you're crazy. And the odd thing is now he uses those traffic sources that I used that everybody laughed at, right? That they're junk. So I could build these lists that everybody else said they were junk. And I came up with doing something different, which was, so I looked at Robert Plank, Jason Parker, Mike Phil Same, all of these big guru people at the time. Some of you are still gurus, by the way, Robert. And I would try to mimic what they did. So I would get in and go, oh, they've got an email follow-up that looks like this, this, and this. And I would try to model it and nothing would work. And then I said, well, if it's not working for me, what can I do different? So what I saw was everybody that I would get on their list, the first thing they'd do is send me an email. Send me an email. Give me a blank download page. So what I started doing was I knew I had what everybody else said was junk traffic. And so my problem wasn't that could I build a list, it was could I get that list to buy things from me? And so I looked around and said, everybody else is just sending emails as soon as I sign up for their list. So what I did was I did something totally different than everybody. I like made videos of myself. So they would sign up for the list, and as soon as they got to the next page, it would be me on a cheesy, terrible camera with no good sound, just saying, hey, I'm Lance. You're going to get an email for me. The thing that I just told you, like I told you were going to get this free report, it's right below here. And I would point down and say, there's a link that looks like this. Click on that and get the free thing that I said you were going to get. And by the way, send me an email and let me know who you are and where you're at in your business. And so I was able to turn this junk traffic into traffic that all of a sudden paid attention. So everybody else said it was junk because of the way they were marketing with it. And I made this one little tweak and said, well, I'm going to try to build a relationship with them. And then all of a sudden I was able to convert traffic that other people couldn't into buying traffic. And then the second thing that I did, and this was super early on, I didn't have any products to sell. I didn't have, like a big portfolio of stuff. I was basically like an affiliate. And so what I would do is I would send out uh, emails to my list and say, get on this live webinar with me right now, and I'll show you how I'm doing whatever it was. So whether it was installing software, whether it was using another program, and I would get them on the webinar. And something different at the time that nobody else was doing is I wouldn't sell anything. I would literally get on and go, all right, I'm going to show you how I'm using Robert Plank's action pop-up software. And if you want to get it so that you can follow along with me, here's my affiliate link, or here's the real link. And I would just walk through the way that I was using it, that other people weren't, and how to install it, and how to set it up, and how to make it work the way that I was making it work. And I absolutely got two things accomplished with that. One, I built a relationship so that people would open my emails and click on my emails because they knew what my face looked like. Then I would get them on webinars and literally not sell anything, but just say, here's the tools I'm using. If you want to buy them, do this here. And then I would show them how to use it. So I built a relationship and then made sales. And that was the turning point for me.
Super cool. And when we're talking about junk traffic, I just kind of want to clarify a little bit. Like there is junk traffic that's just like robots, not people. But we're talking about the kind of junk traffic where like if you click over from Facebook to a news article, sometimes you'll have to wait like 5 seconds, 10 seconds before clicking in. So super yeah, broadly targeted, super like, just all kinds of people from all over. And maybe the only thing we know about those people is that they're interested in business, or maybe that they're interested in biz ops, business opportunities, things like that. But I mean, yeah, really important lesson there. And what's really funny about that is, now almost a decade later, we're playing around with junk traffic again and making it convert. So that's just one of those like really important lessons I think there, as far as like it's okay to have an ugly web page, and we've discovered that for some weird reason ugly web pages tend to convert more. And it's I think that's a really important lesson to kind of avoid that trap of showing off for your peers, or even trying to like catch up or one up your peers, because at a certain point you say, well, I'm just going to make this super clean, super simple opt-in page, super simple videos. I'm going to target it towards people who want this problem solved, people who want an online business, or want a web page, or want action pop-up, or want a WordPress site, or whatever it is. And that's sort of the thing we're taught, right? To solve a problem, to think about, well, who is this for? What problem is this solving? And then it's really easy to kind of forget that, or let your emotions or your ego take you away from that when you see what everyone else is doing, and suddenly you say, "Ooh, I've got to be like everyone else," and kind of dress my web page up the way that they did theirs. And next thing you know, you put in a lot of time, and you've even like sort of moved away from the target. And I think that that's a really kind of interesting and funny story, and a really important lesson, because, and I think that over the years, people have kind of, whenever this sort of topic has come up in masterminds, like you took junk traffic and played around with adding in upsells, and adding in like an affiliate program, and making it go viral, and fun stuff like that. And sometimes over the years, when this topic has come up in like masterminds and things like that, some people have kind of like just kind of put it to the side, or kind of turn their nose up on it, or just discounted it, because it's this thing of junk traffic, even though we always hear about all these goofy stories about people who are killing it in the video poker niche, or in the learning to play piano niche. So it's like we don't have to necessarily like be like going in with guns blazing and have all this crazy impressive stuff to show off for our friends. Why not show off for the people whose problem we're trying to solve? So sort of really good lessons in there, as far as just get it out there and just kind of play around with things. And so I mean, I'm really curious about kind of how do you reconcile, or how do you kind of balance that sort of paradox? Because when you said that you built this list out of junk traffic and made them videos and made them out of offers, it sounds like it was kind of like seeing what other people were doing, and like kind of picking and choosing like some things to follow, some things to sort of copy or model, and other things to do differently. So like, how do you make those sort of decisions? How do you decide sort of what to copy and what to do the opposite of?
I mean, I think for me, the very first thing was I sort of modeled exactly. And then I said, well, this part's not work. So like at the beginning, I was like, okay, I model exactly, which means like an opt-in page and a download page and an email list, like something super simple. And so I would spend all my time modeling the first page, right? Like the opt-in page. And And then once I said, like, okay, I'm not going to compare, I'm going to send traffic and see what happens, I found out I didn't have a problem with that opt in page. People were opting in just because it said, you know, get this free thing or whatever. So then they would opt in. And then I found out, oh, my problem is they're not buying things, they're not reading the emails. And so now I was looking at the problem that I was having and said, okay, it's not the first page, it's the second page. Now, what can I do different at this point in order to get that traffic to convert? And what really changed once I started looking at my online business as far as um, what part of it needs to change, right? Because I think at the beginning, I looked at it as this one giant thing. Like I couldn't have an opt in page because I don't have anything to sell them. I don't have anything to sell them because I don't have a list. I don't have a list because I don't have an opt in page, right? And then I'm stuck in this endless loop of getting nothing done except for driving myself crazy. And my big breakthrough with all of this was when I figured out nothing has to be perfect. First of all, don't compare yourself to other people, but that every online business, whether it's my business, your business, uh, Facebook, Google, Amazon, whatever it is, there's really, when you break it all down, there's three parts to the business, right? The first part is traffic. Can I get people that are interested in my topic to my web page? Okay. The second one is your lead capture. So whether that is purchasing something, whether that is signing up for an email address, whether that is listening to your podcast, whatever it is, that's capturing those traffic. So you've got the traffic, the lead capture, and then the final piece of your online business, any online business, is follow up offers, right? Like the thing that you're going to do to sell them money. And so once you can break down all of those different pieces, so in my business, traffic I could take care of, lead capture I was taking care of, right? Because I was getting them to opt into my email list. The part that I was having problems wasn't the first two, it was the third one, getting them to buy something. So now I know where I need to work on my problem. And I think that just knowing those three things, traffic, lead capture, follow up offers, or what you're going to sell to them, changes everything. That's how I got out of bright, shiny object. Because once I realized no matter what I'm building, if it's a blog, if it's an email capture list, if it's a sales page, if it's whatever, then I could look at it in those three basically silos and I could see where my problem was. So if I was having a problem with traffic, there's no bright, shiny objects. I'm focusing on things that send traffic to my page that exist. If I'm having problem with lead capture, that's what we think of as conversion, right? Like whatever that conversion is. Well, then I know where to focus. Is it my headline? Is it my process? Is it why can't I get them to pay attention? Not traffic. So now I can laser focus, no more bright, shiny objects. If the problem is making sales, well, then I look first and go, do I have traffic? Yes. Are they converting? Yes. Okay, now my problem is the offer that I'm making to those people. So once you understand that your business is all online, is those three silos, well, then now there is no such thing as a bright, shiny object.
Great stuff, and once again, that's one of those sorts of like sort of breakthrough aha moments that I wish I'd had early on. That everything sort of fits into traffic, lead capture, and offers. It's not like your attention has to be split between hundreds of different things, and it's really helpful to be able to differentiate the forest from the trees. Right? Some people say, "Well, I'm working on this project and making this opt-in page." I'm like playing with that thing on social media, and we look at that as, well, which of those three things is it serving? Right? Is it getting you more traffic? Is it the lead capture piece? Is it getting you more people on your list, whatever your list is for you? And then offers, which means, what, like you said, whatever thing you're giving them to buy, and that could be one of your own products, that could be an affiliate link, that could be like a CPA link or something like that. But like to make sense of all the big mess of all the things out there online, traffic, lead capture, and offers really helpful. And I like how you kind of broke it down as that's what tells you where to focus on, right? Because a lot of people, I think their problem is they have all these irons in the fire, so to speak. They're switching gears. They think they're getting more accomplished than they actually are. And then they think they're productive because they have 10 half finished projects, right? 10 half finished websites, 10 half finished books, 10 half finished whatever, 10 half finished blogs. And then they're just kind of switching gears, focusing on what's fun today or what's easy or they can just knock out real quick, and just sort of doing themselves a disservice because they're sort of floundering around and doing these things that aren't making money, and most importantly not really leading to a complete picture. So I really think that's cool to look at that in those sorts of terms: traffic, lead capture, and offers. And the thing that sort of popped back in my mind, that I think I heard it about a week ago, Mr. Lance, but Apple has a Facebook page and they have a Twitter page, but they've never once posted on Facebook. And I heard about that and I was like, what? I've got to see this. And I looked on their Facebook page, and literally, at least the time we're recording this podcast, there is zero posts on their Facebook page. And you got to figure, well, that's just something, I guess maybe they want to look high end, or they'd rather, other companies or news outlets sort of do the Facebooking for them. And the same thing on Twitter. I went to twitter.com/Apple, and there's an account there. They went and shelved out the money to, protect their brand and stuff like that. But you go to Apple's Twitter, and there are zero posts on Twitter. No replies, no retweets, no, not even like one little test message. Nothing from Apple on Twitter and on Facebook. So that was sort of interesting to me that, it's not like the missing piece for a lot of businesses is, oh, you got to be on Twitter specifically or on Facebook specifically. But it's like, okay, if your business is lacking the traffic piece, then go ahead and look out on that. And I think that, you and I get sort of frustrated with some students because they'll either, they'll either sort of take a course from us and they won't apply it as is the first time around, right? Like you said there a few minutes ago, that when you see something working, you do your best to kind of copy it exactly, and then that way, then you kind of look and break that down and say, well, are these pieces important, or could this pieces change? But I think that a lot of people are stuck, and that's when we have our income machine course. A lot of people are stuck just to get to like that first done sort of stage, right? So to sort of set their ego aside for a little bit and follow the steps exactly and get it all in place, and then you can kind of have fun from there. But so that combined with those three silos, the traffic, lead capture, and offers, that makes a lot of sense to me. And so the other sort of final thing that frustration that we deal with people is they might take a course from us, right? And we might show WordPress or Amazon or Fiverr or Facebook, and they say, oh, well, that's not how Facebook looks to me, right? And it might be like a course that's, even a few months out of date or a week out of date, or they might have just changed the interface. And we see a lot of people where they'll kind of let themselves get stuck, right? They'll let themselves say, oh, well, I needed Facebook, but the icon you were telling me is over on the top left, not the top right, because they change things around. Now I'm completely stuck. And I think that by sort of taking your advice here, as far as those two things combined, traffic, lead capture, and offers, and then set it up exactly, and then kind of have fun and play around afterwards, I think it's going to help a lot of people. Because like sort of the way I see it is, if I take a course or I buy a product or whatever, and the look isn't exactly right, but I can still figure it out, then fine, that gets me there. And I know that life's not perfect. I know that things get out of date, but if I let myself at every turn, if a screen didn't look quite right, and I kind of looked at it as I was sort of following someone's instructions exactly and not being my own sort of problem solver, then I would let myself get stuck over and over. And so, sort of as we're winding things down here, if someone takes our income machine course, for example, at incomemachine.com, or any other of our courses, do you have any advice from your own experience or seeing where people get stuck? If they're sort of stuck, if they let themselves get stuck in that way, if they're like, okay, I got to do this, but then I hit a hump, or I can't figure out this screen, or it looks different. Any advice for that if someone is thinking like, okay, I'm going to follow along, but I'm stuck? I mean, how do people get unstuck these days?
Yeah, I would say that there's two things. The very first thing is, don't be afraid to ask. And what I mean by that is, if you're learning something on Facebook, or you're learning something on Fiverr that you mentioned, and it doesn't look exactly the same way, and you literally can't find it, submit a ticket to the help desk and even take a screenshot and say, I'm trying to do XYZ and it's not there anymore. Where has it moved? Because sometimes they do change the language. Sometimes they do move stuff around and it's constant. That's just the nature of the internet. So I would say always utilize the support desk of the site and say, I'm trying to do this. They'll know exactly. And I would say, like, try to figure it out for 5 or 10 minutes. But if you can't figure it out, save yourself the time and ask somebody. The second thing that I would say is don't fall, I kind of mentioned it earlier, is don't fall into this chicken and the egg trap, right? Like, I can't make a product because I don't have a website. I don't have a website because I can't get any traffic. I don't have an email list. I can't, right? It's this endless loop that we get caught in. And so what happens is when we get caught in this basically chicken and the egg syndrome, like I can't have this because I don't have this, and you find yourself looping in this big circle, then what you need to do is just get everything up in place. And I know that that sounds like crazy and hard, but like what we do in the income machine, because we recognize that this is a problem that we recognize that this is a problem that our students have, is we give basically a template where you push a button and it all just installs, meaning your lead capture, your blog, your sales page, your email sequence, everything. And is it the best? No. Is it proven to work? Yes. Can you change it later? Of course you can. And so what we do is we say, here, click this button, get everything installed. And the reason that's so important is it gets rid of any chicken and egg stuff that you might have. And so once you have everything in place, once you have your lead capture, your offers, all of that in place, then you can work on traffic. Then you can work on conversion. And it immediately does two things. It gets you out of the chicken and egg syndrome. And the second thing is it kills bright, shiny object syndrome because you have everything in place. You understand the high level view of your business and it's built. So now you just start working on the pieces that we talked about earlier. And I think that that's the real value, if nothing else, of Income Machine is you push a button and it's all there in place. It's all ready to go. And it shortcuts you through chicken and egg, bright, shiny object, comparison, all of these things that we talked about earlier today, so that you can really get a jump start on your business. And it literally shortcuts years of what you and I went through in building our online business.
That sounds like a course and a set of tools that everyone needs, so everyone can claim that at incomemachine.com. And once again, that is the course where we show you how to figure out your niche. You might even at the time think that you have a niche, but it needs to kind of be rearranged, rejiggered, because a lot of people think they have a niche, but they're not solving an actual problem. Like, I mean, I don't know about you, Lance, but anytime I ask sort of subscribers on my list what your niche is, I get a lot of responses of people saying like, well, my niche is people who are interested in making money online. And I'm thinking, well, that what problem is that really solving? Like, is that solving anything specifically? Well, no, it's just giving people sort of like all these different sort of links basically. Or if someone says, well, my niche is baby boomers or people of this certain age range, I'm thinking, well, yeah, but if you narrowed down like something that, or some kind of thing, some kind of need that age range needed, and then you could kind of solve that with a skill that you have, because we mentioned early on that, you know, you and I, Lance, we like to do some of the technical stuff, so we'd show people how to set up web pages or use a piece of software. So we said, well, there's a need, and now we're going to sort of use our skill to solve that in a certain way. And so Income Machine shows you how to figure out your niche, get an opt-in page in place, which you talked about in this call, where you have a web page with nothing else to do on it than enter a name and email address. That way you can start building a list of subscribers. This is what every successful business does. They have a list of either their customers or their prospects, or hopefully both, and multiple sublists and things like that. We show you how to send out and schedule an email follow-up sequence. That way you stay in contact with them. We show you how to get a product in place, how to get a download page in place, how to do a membership site, a blog, traffic. It's literally 10 courses in one. And so if you feel like this internet marketing thing is too hard, or if you think I'm not really sure that I'm doing the right thing, or you don't know what you need, or you're directionless, or you feel like this is taking too long, or you spent too much money in the past, or whatever it is, it's all led you to this point of sort of clarity where, there's all you've heard all these sort of terms before, right? You've heard about retargeting or about list building, but now is the time to actually make sense of it and to put it in place and to set it up for yourself. I mean, it's one thing to sort of hear about stuff or sort of see what other people set up, or maybe you set up some of the pieces yourself, but unless you have all the pieces in place, then it's all just kind of having a hobby, right? It's all just kind of half-assing it. And so, what makes a lot of sense to me is to listen to Mr. Lance's advice. If someone gives you a template, like we give you a template in Income Machine, set the template up as is. That way, you at least have a starting point, and that way you're way, way far ahead of all these other people online who are struggling. Because I mean, a lot of people, a lot of your competitors are struggling way, way more than you, and a lot of them will never get this figured out like you're about to figure it out. Or maybe you've sort of figured it out so far. So have the template, get it all in place, get it set up, and as you were sort of wrapping things up there, Mr. Lance, like another I think really important thing that again I wish I'd known, which I kind of had to figure out the hard way, is to ask a clear question, right? And so that means if you're stuck about a certain thing you're setting up and you want to go over to our help desk, and there's a link to our help desk on incomemachine.com, on the sales leader, in the membership site, all that stuff. But if you get stuck at any point and you say, well, I'm at this screen. Here's a screenshot. You said to do this. I don't know what to click. That is a very clear question, right? And so I think that you and I kind of get frustrated if we see someone ask for help or they post a help desk ticket and it's just like some big long thing and they're not really sure what they're asking. And then we kind of have to break it down and figure out, okay, well, based on all the stuff you said, here's the one question that was sort of hidden in there. And I think that that's a really important thing. Every time we've gone to a mastermind or asked for help ourselves, or someone else has asked for help or whatever, if you can figure out what very clear question you have, what very clear simple problem you're trying to solve, I think that'll help you guys in a lot of different ways if you're stuck on something technical, but also just kind of knowing what the point is, right? A lot of people, like you said at the beginning of here, Lance, a lot of people, they drift through the 9 to 5 employed corporate America kind of life, and then they come over to the self-employed, owning your own business entrepreneur sort of arena, and they take a lot of that baggage with them. And one piece of baggage that people definitely should not take with them is that drifting through. So know what you're building, know what you're solving. If you're stuck, know what sort of questions to ask yourself and others. That way it's clear if you solved it or not. That way it's clear what the heck it is you're trying to solve. A lot of people are just kind of setting things up, playing around, moving things around, and they don't really know why they're doing what they're doing or what it's leading to. And I think that even though it seems simplistic, a lot of people are missing that component. So get that back, get the magic back, get that warm fuzzy feeling back that you had when you first got online, when you first started setting things up, and get to the money making phase. And we can show you how to do that step by step with templates and systems and tools and all of that. It's all in one place. You don't have to buy a bunch of courses, just buy the one course, and that's incomemachine.com. That's INCOMEMACHINE.com, incomemachine.com. That is the course from Lance Tamashiro and myself, and I want to thank you, Mr. Lance, for stopping by and sharing some of these insights with us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I look forward to being on again.